I was receiving texts from various people, and I have great respect for that are in this profession. And they were wondering what was wrong with Jim Nantz at the beginning of the Buffalo game against the Kansas City Chiefs. We know what it was all about. He's hearing footsteps. Footsteps from this man, Ian Eagle, who joins us here on the program. Ian, how are you, my friend? Thanks so much for doing this. I know you can't comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, as always, for the very comfortable segue into the interview. It's so seamless.
He's like, no, don't listen to that conversation, boss. No, don't listen to that.
I never said that. Yeah, you know, some intern at the New York Times is going to take this and blow it out of proportion here. That Eagle is already.
Ian said Nance is done.
Yeah, Eagle campaigning for number one spot. Well, in our hearts, you're number one, and now Noah Eagle. My God, I mean, this kid.
Your son's great.
Is he on the
great.
biggest meteoric rise you've ever seen in the industry, Ian? I mean, you may be hearing footsteps.
Well, you guys have the same voice. You know that? Like, every time he's on, I'm like, Ian's on NBC now? What the fuck? I'm like, when did Ian... Oh, it must be his son. I mean, he does such a great job.
Yeah, and all I can think when he's on is, I used to clean your poop.
That's great.
Yeah, that is one way to look at it. That's for sure.
Oh my God, that's great.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on today's edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, one, Mike Lubitz with you here on South Florida Live. And, of course, all of our other platforms, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Airs a lot of our stuff here, and we're very happy to be participating in that. A monster put together by the great Ethan Scoop Skolnick, who is all over the Miami Heat, defeating the San Antonio Spurs last night. I still wonder. I know you say that the rest of the Spurs team is complete garbage. You have Popovich sticking around as head coach, but you get Victor Wembanyama, and they have 10 wins on the season. That seems really out of sorts. I mean, when the Bucks got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I mean, they had an aging Oscar Robertson, but did it not turn around their fortunes completely? Now, when the Admiral went to San Antonio, I don't know that that necessarily was a solution for all of their problems. I guess the year he was out was the key in the San Antonio Spurs franchise history, was the Admiral being injured, and they had a god-awful season without him and ended up with the number 1 pick again. They get Tim Duncan, and the rest is history, my friend. Popovich on his way to the Hall of Fame. Tony Parker makes his way into the Hall of Fame. Ginobili becomes an international superstar, and they had a great run there for many, many years. You can't imagine that Greg Popovich has become that bad of a coach that even with that level of talent and getting Wembanyama, it's hard to fathom that they've only won 10 games on the season. There's some ridiculous number like 10-40 on the year. They were hanging in there against the Miami Heat last night. The Heat have now won, I believe, is it 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 since they had that horrendous 7-game losing streak. Yeah.
4 out of 5, which is annoying because they threw away 4 games against teams they should have annihilated, and they'd be sitting there in that 4-5. They'd be like a game behind the Knicks right now. Fucking
well, and the Knicks experiencing some hideous injury problems. Randall out for several weeks, with the shoulder injury that he sustained, and now you have Brunson rolled an ankle. So he's going to miss at least a game or 2 and maybe a few more. So, the Knicks in a very perilous position right now. They're talking about, you know what you love about what's going on in the NBA, Lubie? You know who's one of the hottest commodities in trade talks? Like, I've heard his name associated. The Lakers need to pick him up. The Knicks need to pick him up. Yeah, your favorite player.
Kelly Olynyk.
How is it possible?
Fucking Olynyk. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
They're talking about Olynyk as if he was Moses Malone. I mean,
I'm like, what the hell? The Heat need to make a move for Olynyk. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah. Everybody's talking about Kelly Olynyk. Now, I always liked Kelly Olynyk. You thought he was a stiff.
I know.
I thought he was a decent player. Kelly Olynyk, who has the throwback hairdo out of Gonzaga. You would think that he was caught in a time warp. And yet, in terms of time, you're asking yourself, when did this guy come into the league? Well, wasn't it, didn't he break in with like Bill Russell? I think he did. Kelly Olynyk. But every time I see Woj or any of these NBA experts, they're talking about, well, you know what they're looking at? Kelly Olynyk. In fact, it's even all over the New York Post today that Leon Rose of the Knicks, the general manager and president of the Knicks there. I guess he's not the general manager.
He's the president.
He's running the fucking club, is the way it's going. And who's the first name they associate with the Knicks' needs? Kelly Olynyk. How is that possible that some guy that you would think is an inconsequential stiff is suddenly the hottest commodity in all trade talks? But maybe he will be an answer for somebody, a solution to some team that's searching for an identity right now, or to re-up on their chances of making any kind of a championship move. But hard to imagine that Kelly Olynyk is that particular component. Anyway, so the Heat win last night over San Antonio. I was watching a lot of that game. It was close into the fourth quarter. And then the Heat eventually pulled away for a double-digit victory, so that was positive. We saw the Panthers return to the ice after the 10-day All-Star game break, which who could figure out what's going on at the NHL All-Star game? I used to love the NHL All-Star game. It was an annuity. You could bet the over no matter what. The over-under total would be like 27 goals, and it would go 14 with Gretzky getting 9. But you don't have that anymore. I don't even know how the hell they contest it. Same thing with the NFL. The Pro Bowl game and festivities, they include everything, right? Tug of war. It looks like you're watching the All Superstars competition. I thought I saw Joe Frazier fall off the diving board into the pool and go straight to the bottom. Hey, Al Campanis, did you see that? Black people can't swim. Whatever got him onto that conversation with Ted Koppel?
Oh, my God.
That was insane.
Tug of
So
war.
a lot of stuff happening. And, of course, we've been trying to figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl for the last couple of days. And we dodged it a little bit, really diving into a Super Bowl minutia and all the different things. And the numbers that stand out would be simply this. And you always ask yourself why the odds are going a certain way. And many people suspect that when you see an opportunity like this, it's simply because you're getting sucker punched by the line makers and the bookies in Las Vegas. And now bookies everywhere. I mean, you pick up here's your bookie now. It's insane, right? This is the equivalent of Louis the Lip.
Oh, yeah.
At this point,
I don't know if it's better or worse.
I think it's far worse. I tell you what. Although you do have to have the money in your account. So
I would say, look, I don't know. I've never dealt with a bookie. I don't know if they coach you up, or they egg you on to bet or not bet, because you have to reach out.
They just insult you, largely. Like, hey, listen, you fucking stiff.
But at least
you're going to show up this time. Otherwise, we may have to put some pressure on you, DeForest.
But you can't go negative with the app, right? Like, you need to have the cash up front. So at least
got to
you're
be
not
there. Yeah.
going to lose a house. The bookie, they'll give you a line of credit for a while, I think. And then
they love it. Yeah. Because the juice is on. Just think about the movie Rounders, right? With KGP. The juice is running. It's been running since you were sent to prison. We never turn off the juice. So, I mean, they're more than willing to lend you money, because you get into a situation. It's kind of like dealing with banks now, where no matter what you owe, you still owe that or a greater amount, no matter how much money you've paid off on a regular basis. Making the minimum payments, it's sort of the inspiration for the credit card business, I guess, bookmaking and all of that stuff, and loan sharks. But, I mean, you have to have the money in your hand. So maybe, that's a little bit of a prohibitive factor, where you're not going to get into a situation where you're so deep in debt that not only are you going to lose a couple of limbs or your fingers, but you're never going to get out of it. That being said, does it seem like a lot of people always have these suspicions? I'm not sure that I buy into this, that Vegas sets a line so that you will be sucked into betting the wrong side.
I don't know. Mayo and Greek talk about that, a sucker line.
Yeah.
My thing is, what's weird about this to me is everyone's on the Chiefs, right? That's all we keep hearing is Chiefs.
Yes, Chiefs. Yes.
But the Niners were installed as a favorite and have been the favorite the entire time. Like, so are the Sharps going Niners because the Sharps go heavier and that evens it? Like, I don't get why it hasn't moved. Maybe they start there, fine, but we've seen movement in lines.
Fluctuated, and yet it's sort of back where it began. I've seen a line drop. I don't know that I went as low as 1, but and to move the line a point, it does take a certain amount of capital. You'll find situations where 75% of the money is being bet on one side, but like you said, the heavyweights are sending it in on the other side, and that's what keeps the line where it's at, which I've seen it fluctuate now between 1.5 and 2. And the last one I saw was 2 points San Francisco. No, I mean, normally if you were recording San Francisco at 2-point edge in the ballgame, what are you saying? I mean, you're essentially saying that the game is a toss-up.
Pick 'em, yeah. Pick 'em.
So, I don't know that it's any overwhelming influencing factor to see that the line is favoring San Francisco. If you're looking at personnel, you're thinking they certainly have the more recognizable name personnel, with the exception of Mahomes versus Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And so you have to accept that you think whether you were going to call him and denigrate his performance by calling him, which is one of your favorite terms, Lubie. You love calling a guy a system player. You thought that Julian Edelman was a system player.
I did.
Until he saved fucking Tom Brady's ass by making a catch while he was laying on the ground with 6 guys on top of him and somehow wrestled the ball away. Another ridiculously horrendous pass by Tom Brady, who is heralded as the greatest of all time, and yet he had plenty of help. Maybe he was more of a system quarterback than even Brock Purdy. It's possible, but he had players that were not necessarily of the kind of distinction that would automatically qualify them after their careers for the Hall of Fame. Is Julian Edelman ever going to be a Hall of Fame player? But he sure did save Brady's ass many times. Wes Welker, is he a Hall of Fame player? No, but many, many times he was a key factor, a giant component in any success that the New England Patriot dynasty teams had. Now, when you're looking at San Francisco's personnel, you have Kittle, who, I mean, you probably say, okay, Travis Kelce has had a better career. But is Kittle any, backseat taker to Travis Kelce as a tight end?
Now, what's funny is Kelce was good early, then late in the year, we know he struggled. And then the last 2 playoff games he's played out of his
dynamite. Yeah.
Kittle was sort of similar where he's been off all year. No one's really known where he was. And then the second half in that game, he woke. That's to me, the saving grace for the Niners is Samuel was hurt. He didn't look like himself in the playoffs until the second half. They started working him in the second half. And Kittle, they started working in. And it's like, and you saw Purdy get comfortable, and Purdy looked the best he had looked in like a month.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's the problem is the Chiefs have consistently gotten better in the playoffs. The Niners hadn't. The Niners played like garbage until the second half versus the Lions, and they woke up. So it's like, what the fuck? I feel we know what Chiefs we're going to see. I don't know what Niners we're going to see. And that's what's confusing to me in this game.
Yeah, I think the Niners will play well. I think they'll acquit themselves very well. I think the secret X factor in this game, and I'm not trying to just sound like I'm overwhelmingly clever and ignoring all of the players that are on the field, but I think you have to look at Steve Spagnuolo, who, as we said, I mean, if you look at him facially, I know you don't see this because you're not as familiar with the people that we're talking about here, but he has morphed into, and the Polyman pointed this out to me, he's morphed into Jerry Bailey, the jockey.
I know what Jerry Bailey looks like. I just know Spags looks like Jerry Bailey.
There's an uncanny resemblance. Steve Spagnuolo to Jerry Bailey, an older Jerry Bailey we're talking about. But regardless of that, I mean, if that's not one of your observations that you consider to be critical to making your selection, if you look at the way Spagnuolo has gone ahead and orchestrated strategies, he was a guy. I mean, look how great Lamar Jackson was. Everybody was talking about this guy as if he was the greatest ever. He was the fucking Muhammad Ali of quarterbacks at this point. Greatest ever. You've never seen anything like this. A guy who not only had an accurate arm at this point and was able to throw the ball to the outside, the inside, deep, and then manufacturing plays as if he was literally the second coming of Fran Tarkenton. I mean, this guy's scrambling ability and ability to run the football. Although Tarkenton just kind of ran in circles behind the line of scrimmage. Whereas Jackson was gaining, 10, 15 yards a clip and making all kinds of Josh Allen spectacular plays in spite of his diminutive size by comparison. Yeah. He was a powerhouse running the football. He was rendered useless in that game by Spagnuolo.
Yep.
Excellent strategic performance there. And if you, look at the various games that the Kansas City Chiefs had played, especially in the postseason, Spagnuolo has varied the approach of his defense. He has made the kind of adjustments that make you think, okay, this guy is a much more significant factor as a defensive coordinator than Eric Bieniemy ever was as an offensive coordinator, although Bieniemy wasn't really calling the plays, which was the big knock on him. And what has he done since? He's gone to the Washington Commanders. And even, I mean, as he was holding a book containing, all about the Rooney Rule, he couldn't get a job interview for one of 8 or 7 head coaching vacancies that were available. I mean, did you see Bieniemy? Did he interview for any of the head coaching positions?
No.
Not one, Mr. Rooney. Not one.
Nope.
So, I don't know that, with the Commanders, was he going to have a lot of success as an offensive coordinator? They're talking about Thurston Howell at quarterback. I mean, my God. What the hell? I mean, the last time we saw Howell do anything significant, it was on Gilligan's Island, right? When it was So, yeah, he probably, was going to be buried. A lot of people thought that. It was kind of like when Greg Schiano went to Rutgers, although he managed to prosper and have a very lucrative career post University of Miami defensive coordinator status. But when he went to Rutgers, I remember thinking this. Schiano, he was a highly touted DC. And you thought, well, geez, why would he take that job when he could just wait a little bit and probably pick his spot somewhere at a school that it would be far more significant? At Bieniemy going to the Commanders, I guess this was his only chance to distinguish himself as somebody that was head coaching material. It didn't work out. But if you look at Spagnuolo, I mean, he's been brilliant. Is he in the same category? You're starting to talk about the icons of DCs when you're looking at what Spagnuolo has done. You're talking about Bud Carson. You're talking about Bill Arnsparger. You're talking about Buddy Ryan. This guy's, showing himself to be at that level of excellence at the position where he truly is a difference maker. All of these new, DCs and offensive coordinators are being named. I mean, could you really say, okay, yeah, that guy's going to make a big difference there in Philadelphia, or he's going to make a big difference there under Jim Harbaugh? I don't know. I mean, they're guys of, they may be well known inside football circles, but I don't know that I could point to anybody and say, wow, what a hire that was. But you would have to say that it's true of Spagnuolo. He has changed the Chiefs, who were never known as any kind of great defensive team.
Oh, no.
And put them on the map in that category. And then the variety of strategies that he's used and the timing of the way that he incorporates blitzing and when to back off. He's been spectacular. Maybe the MVP of the playoffs so far for the Kansas City Chiefs. But what are we missing here? I mean, are we being sucked in? It's not enough points to consider this some kind of a sucker. A bet where you're being sucked into betting the Chiefs. If the Chiefs were favored by 3 points, would you back away from thinking that they had an excellent chance to win the game? You'd probably take the points, I guess, with San Francisco. So why not in what looms as a toss-up? I mean, this is like laying 110 to win 100 on heads or tails, isn't it? In trying to call this one. And, it's going to depend a great deal on who happens to measure up that day. But I'm leaning towards the Chiefs and taking the 2 points, in spite of the fact that everybody's saying and screaming, "Sucker bet, sucker bet."
Yeah,
it's kind of like when I bet against Secretariat in the Belmont in 1973. Kind of fucking fool. 4 other horses in the race, and I'm on sham. I don't even know what price the horse went off. You're watching a horse win by 31 lengths. Set a record that will never be broken, not only in the stakes event, the Belmont Stakes, but track record. I mean, this was phenomenal what happened out there that day. I knew I was a dead man when I bet against Secretariat when Penny Tweedy, the distinguished owner of Secretariat, was already making out with somebody in the box there, as they were on the turn. Like a tremendous machine. So what do you think, Lubie? I mean, are we wrong? I mean, I know you're on the same side as me, which is a little bit frightening. Everybody I see is saying, hey, Chiefs, Chiefs, Chiefs. And yet Vegas is kind of, supposedly trying to draw you into that frame of mind and that opinion.
Our guy Scott here said it. I think the Niners are the better team. I don't think Purdy's losing them games.
No, I think he's been instrumental. I mean, he helped them win that Detroit game, no doubt.
He helped win that game. Where actually, he was the best player on the field the second half for either team. I just don't look. It comes down to Shanahan to me. It's not the Mahomes thing. We've seen Mahomes lose games.
Yes,
and Mahomes is look. Even that game, they didn't score the entire second half. Like the Ravens still had their chances. Ravens kept themselves on the foot. Literally, if Zay Flowers scores and doesn't fumble it at the goal line, it's a different game. The Ravens probably end up winning. Actually, it's the coaches. Andy Reid has found a way in these games, at least with the red and white of the Chiefs, to win them. Shanahan, no matter where he is, finds a way to lose them. And I brought it up. I was like, maybe he'll learn. And you said it a couple weeks ago. You're like, look, some guys are just who they are. And Ken, to this day, because of how he gave the Chiefs of the Patriots Super Bowl, hates Kyle Shanahan. I give him a little bit of credit for the Niners' success, but he did it too with the Niners. Now, like Jimmy G, they're up 10 versus this Chiefs team, very similar Chiefs team.
Yes.
A talented Chiefs team. And they were up 10 and gave them the game. So, and it was all because of Shanahan's play calling. Why would we think he's learned? And that's my problem with this game is I think it's a toss-up. And if it's a toss-up, you look for any angle you have. Andy Reid, to me, is a clear advantage over Kyle Shanahan. So if I would put money on this game, I'd have to go Chiefs just because I feel like you'd The Niners will be up. You'll be confident, and then Shanahan's going to fucking do some dumb shit. That's going. Look, you brought it up in our no filter with Campbell. Dan Campbell's going to keep doing for the fourth down.
Yes.
It didn't work when it got to crunch time. He didn't give a shit. He did at the end when all they needed was a field goal to stay in the game and kick an onside that wasn't going to work anyways. He went for it on fourth down. Used more time that they needed desperately. Yeah, they got the touchdown, but a score is a score at that point.
Yeah.
The dude's going to keep going for fourth downs. Like, he doesn't give a shit. It's what he does. Shanahan's going to keep going for it. He's an offensive, aggressive guy that no matter what's going on in a game, he's going to go for it. Okay, well, we've seen in these big moments, that's not always the best move. And he would scare the shit out of me as a bettor. Like, to put my money on Kyle Shanahan in this moment, it would be hard for me to do that.
Well, and the trend, the big stat everybody's looking at now is Mahomes, 12-1. It's either 12-1 or 11-1-1. I'm not sure. I've seen it both ways. Against the spread, he's 12-1. Let's give him the credit for that one, the push. 12-1 in situations where the Chiefs have been underdogs. So why not? I mean, you could look at it from the other angle, which is, okay, he's due to get hammered. This is a guy that when people have cast aspersions towards the Chiefs in the situation, he's always risen to the occasion. 10-3 straight up in those spots. So it's not just like he's getting a bunch of backdoor covers either with that late concessionary touchdown. I would say this about Campbell going for it, and my strategy would have been the same on that. I don't know that I would have run the ball. And he had to get into the end zone when he ran the ball and cost him one of their timeouts at the end of the ball game.
Yeah.
And this seldom works where you're down 10 points inside of a minute to go, and you're going to have to, either kick the ball away and stop them 3 straight times, calling the timeouts, and then have like 20 seconds to go to try and come back. But depending on where you are, I think when you're at the 1 yard line, you have a better chance. If you're going to ultimately win the game, you need to get that touchdown there.
I get it.
Because if you do get the onside kick and recover it, and or you do kick it deep and they have to punt it to you, you're far more likely to get a field goal from that long distance than you are after you gave up the opportunity to punch it into the end zone at the 1 yard line. If you have to go 50 yards and get a touchdown, that sort of changes and I think really inhibits your chances of winning the game. So I thought they had to get the touchdown there. I really did. The one play that you could question is running the ball because it's like, hey, you can't be short of the end zone. And when that happened, then they lost the opportunity to go ahead and try to kick it deep, which I don't know. Would they have been better off just going for the onside kick there anyway? I think so. Because, they still only need to make 1 first down to beat you.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely. I mean, if they scored a touchdown from midfield after you failed to recover an onside kick, I would have gone ahead. I never would have kicked it deep there in that spot. Because, you see what happens on these short yardage plays. Sometimes, they whiff on the tackle at the line of scrimmage. They get 10 guys in there, and then the guy runs the ball for 20 yards and takes a knee. And so you're out of the game anyway. I mean, the problem was that they were in that spot to begin with.
Yep.
If you look at it, Dan Campbell with his ridiculous macho strategies there, he cost anybody. Thank God there was a backdoor cover. But he cost Detroit any chance they had of winning the ball game by not thwarting the momentum of the San Francisco 49ers, who, and that's another factor to look at in making a selection here. The 49ers, by all rights, should be on vacation right now. They should be in the Pro-Am at Pebble Beach last week. The Packers had them by the jugular, and Detroit, was hammering them in that game and had a chance to still be up 17 midway through the third quarter.
Yep.
Except for the machismo factor with Dan Campbell, who, no doubt, was slugging down. Did you ever eat one of those giant turkey legs?
No, my wife loves them. I've never actually eaten one. They look impressive and scary all at the same time.
Shouldn't Mike Mayo eat one of those turkey legs on the lunchbox? That should be a whole show one day. We just go out to a park.
He's just watching.
Find some food truck that's selling there. There used to be one at what was then Joe Robbie Stadium, now Hard Rock Stadium. There was a food truck guy. This was in a kinder, gentler time for people trying to market product and different things outside the stadium, which was always my favorite place to buy any kind of souvenir or food, right? You wanted to go to the arepa stand outside the stadium there. Yeah. The only place I wouldn't trust would be those, little carts that are outside the
heat. It's under the bridge and over.
Yeah. You're wondering where the fuck they got this meat from. And then when you see the guy, I've said this many times. When the guy has like 60, little skewers of shish kebab left, and the crowd is pretty much dissipated. They're all in their cars on their way home. What does he do with the extra stuff that he has?
Exactly.
Is that then, and the Heat don't play at home again until next Wednesday? Don't you think you're going to see some of that same meat?
Yeah.
And why is it always Fanta orange that they have? And they never have like Coke or Pepsi. It's always Fanta. I guess you go to Costco and buy like a 60-pack of Fanta orange and put it right there on your cart. I may be pushing one of those pretty soon as a way to supplement my rather anemic income at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and bet the Chiefs in this game. I'm going to pick them to win the game outright. And I think Chiefs money line is going to be my play. And then the other two props that are very popular right now are Pacheco to gain, I think it's 67.5 yards. Would you say that the over on that was a proposition that you would pursue? Or is that one they're trying to suck you into? Because you have to think that Andy Reid's going to try to run the ball in this game.
Yes.
Quite a bit. Another part of the strategy would be obviously to marginalize the amount of time that San Francisco had the ball. He has the ability to run it with Pacheco. And then Valdez-Scantling, over 22.5 yards receiving. That's one catch. Do you think he makes one play in the game? Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is 22 yards. Like, they don't have that many. Look, the Rice kid I know is risen up, but
yeah, no, he's been great.
Valdez-Scantling was with them last year and actually played a big role in the Super Bowl. Like, you would think he's going to have to do something here. Like, even if he makes 2 catches, he should be able to get 25 yards. That's an interesting one. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, they're not showing, going to throw some dump pass to Valdez-Scantling.
No.
So if he's targeted 3 times and he catches 1, I think he eclipses the total there.
Yeah, I like those. And again, the run game is going to be they're a different team now. That's what the Mahomes stuff is funny because yes, Mahomes finds ways to win, but they're not winning with Mahomes. They're winning with defense and running.
Yeah,
they're winning with Spagnuolo getting into the head of the other team's quarterback, and the offense playing it smart, riding Travis Kelce on the short, not Kelce down the field, Kelce short passes, smart passes, and running the ball with Pacheco. I like both of those bets. I'm more confident about those than I am the game. I want to go with the Niners. I really badly. I really feel like because that's the thing. You could do they should have lost those 2 games, so they're due to lose, or which we've seen in the playoffs, the teams that find a way to just get by keep just getting by. So like, why can't they do it a third game? So that's why I'm really confused on the side. I'm leaning. I would put money on the Chiefs just because of the Reid versus Shanahan. But those 2 prop bets make a lot more sense to me because I don't see how the Chiefs can win without those things happening.
But if those things do happen, then you would have to think,
nice
right? The Chiefs have an excellent chance of coming out on top in this game. Yeah, I mean, I thought that there was some miraculous escapes there by Brock Purdy also.
He played great.
Yeah, I mean, he's ducking under 6 guys and then completing a pass on the sidelines where, first down is accomplished when otherwise it should have been a 10-yard sack and put them in a more compromising position. And I really think that Dan Campbell, as you look at it, he can beat his chest all he wants and say that's the way that we play. Then you play stupid, Dan. I mean, you're stupid. You're stupid. That was about as dumb, a series of maneuvers as we've ever seen by any head coach in that spot, with the exception of the aforementioned. And you're very correct in pointing this out. Kyle Shanahan, one of the biggest choke jobs in NFL history, was that performance by the offensive coordinator, who was Shanahan, with the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl that they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had no business winning that game. 0. They were hopelessly out of it. So if a coach strategically can be guilty of the kind of blunders that cost you ball games, Kyle Shanahan, for all of his brilliance, which I think you do have to credit, he's a very good coach. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's come up with a lot of innovative things. Look at Mike McDaniel. All of the influence that Shanahan had on McDaniel is usually what you look at when you're talking about Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins and say, wow, I mean, this guy's a shrewd and innovative offensive mind. The problem is he also has a little bit of that Shanahan syndrome combined with a little, you almost wish Tony Sperano would come back from the grave sometimes and go ahead and kick a field goal from the 1. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The bet that we have to determine, and we'll get more into it tomorrow. John Kajemi is going to join us tomorrow here on the show with the Pigskin Playbook, which will be an excellent source of material for your betting instincts. And you have to consider. I mean, and I'll do some more research on this. But the Reba McEntire under on the anthem,
I'm feeling over. It's so weird. I know her history says she goes really short. But
83 seconds with one.
90
Yeah.
seconds. I mean, like you
90
tell me she's not
seconds.
going to enjoy this. She's done Star Singles Banners or anthems, but she hasn't done the Super Bowl. Like you're telling me she's not going to fuck around a little. Like
You have to do something.
gotta futz a little. Like I get it. She's not going to be an R&B singer and just.
Aretha Franklin, man, that was the greatest one ever.
But come
a
on,
5-minute intro if you had the over.
I feel like you'll get better odds at the over because of her record. So I would say fuck it and go over. I would do those three props.
I'm thinking, I'm
Pacheco,
thinking
Scanlon,
Pacheco, Scantling, and the over on the anthem.
over. Just 3 straight overs and just see what the fuck. You should get good odds on those. That's what I would go with.
I'm not sure. There's the over under on the anthem. Just always the standard minus 110.
Maybe I don't know.
It might be 110 or 100 because let's face it, only 2 things can happen.
Yeah.
In that spot. Not a lot of varying factors that work into the equation. I'm thinking, we'll leave you with this. Okay, Reba McEntire, here's a message for you. Stretch this out as long as you can. And the home of the brave. And then you're hoping a bug flies into her throat. On that note, we'll leave you. We'll leave you guys alone in your own devices. The Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show from the Even Keel Fish Shack today.
Yes.
And he's still a little gimpy, Lubie. It actually scared me half to death last night.
Oh God.
So I don't know if I'm going to be able to venture down there, but
Don't tell yourself. It's just close enough where we're like hopefully he can.
I should be able to crawl there. Yeah. Believe me, I don't want to miss that. How is the food at the Taco Craft? I've never eaten there. I pass by it all the time.
We needed you. They brought out literally, I guess, not their entire menu because they have a vast menu, but they brought out a lot of food.
I was a little envious of that one because I'm a huge fan of Mexican food, of course, and I don't know. I mean, they're people there all the time just jamming into that place. So I'm thinking it has to be pretty good. No,
that was really good. Really.
Yeah. Packed. I mean, they have the one in Lauderdale by the Sea, which I go by every time. And, of course, it's right across from the Even Keel Fish Shack. A lot of great restaurants there, huh? Aruba, everybody likes Vinny's. Yep. You got, people have been asking about, I saw a post on Let's Eat South Florida about where can you get a great falafel, and people overlook, and even with that fried chicken thing, Keezy's Simply Delicious.
Okay.
Which they had 2 locations. Now they're down to 1, but it would be well worth visiting the one. All there, and Billy Jack's Shack. Are you a fan of Billy Jack's Shack? Best chili, I think, in town.
Talked about it a lot. I want to try it. I realized where it is finally. And
good stuff.
Try this place. Yeah.
No, I mean, really good. I'm a big fan of Billy Jack's Shack. A couple of the things there, I think, are outstanding, and I think everything overall is pretty good. And nice staff there. So a lot of great restaurants. La Cucina, Italian place that a lot of people don't even factor into the Lauderdale by the Sea equation. What is it called? Like Capricciosa or something like that.
It's another place. Yep.
Yeah. Good spot. You got Mickey's Downtowner, very popular with the dancing set. So, a lot of good places there. But you guys will be, and if I can make it, I don't know. It's very questionable.
If you can try, we'd love to have you if you can.
I love it there. I mean, one of my favorites, Even Keel Fish Shack. I love the joint. But I'll join you nonetheless. I know you were packed in yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was jammed yesterday. Sean Wooden jumps on. Then we had both Marks came on. Sagrada was
Tony there. Yeah, Tony. How did Tony like the bagels and the cream cheese?
Well, I didn't realize he goes every Saturday. That's where he gets his bagels.
Oh, yeah.
Grandpa's. So he was very well versed with Grandpa's.
Wow, he's all the way out in Davie, man. That's a big schlep. Yeah.
I mean, it's worth it. I actually can see why he does it. Their bagels to me are as good as any bagel in town.
Yeah. Goldberg's also, which is one of the partners there.
Yes,
one of the Marks has Goldberg's on.
Yes.
Was that Oakland Park and
like raving about it, which is cool. I'm glad it's working out.
Very good. Oh, wow. Brian, when I was in the hospital from Wicked Cheesesteaks, brought me a bagel and cream cheese from
nice.
Goldberg's. Wow. I mean, it was fantastic.
Nice.
The Mustang, who's very critical and not a big bagel fan, even said, wow, this is amazing.
Nice.
So, a lot of good stuff there. All right, we'll see you guys later on. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and that's coming up at 1 o'clock from the Even Keel Fish Shack. For Mike Lubie Lewitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 8:42.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.